moms, and welcome back to Momestly Me. In today's video, we are starting a little mini series we're doing for the month of Father's Day called Momestly Dads.
The month of Father's Day?
Uh-huh.
All right. That works. And we are going to be talking to Mike. This is my baby daddy. We have a 22-month-old daughter. You don't want me to do baby daddy?
I mean, it's technically accurate. The best kind of accurate. So.
Yeah, so he's going to tell us a little bit about his fatherhood journey. And yeah. So, background, Mike's an only child. And so, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, first I was born, and then nobody else was born after me or before me. So.
And then you were petrified. Okay, sorry.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So my parents were older when they had me, and my mom was 38, my dad was 35 when they had me. And when I came out, they were like, "Holy shit, that's enough of that for one day."
Relatable AF.
So, but yeah, because they were older, they decided that I would be uh, the first and the last, which I mean was fine by me. I did ask, when I was little, if I was going to have a brother or a sister, and they said no. Um, and in a pretty, not like, when kids ask, "Can I have a brother or a sister?" and the mommy and daddy look at each other. It's like, well, I don't know. They're like, no. So go back to your Legos. Build a brother if you need to.
Oh,
Um, my parents are wonderful people. I love them to death. They gave me this sense of humor, so I'm
comes
sorry.
by it very honestly.
But growing up, growing up an only child, um, I would say I'm pretty well adjusted. You know, we they I had some friends that were also only children, so we were able to create um, a sibling-like bond. I wouldn't say a sibling bond because you know, there's no replacement for an actual brother or sister. But we were very, very close, so that did give me kind of an extended family of sorts. And coming from a proper Southern household, um, the entire family was very close knit. So my cousins were like brothers and sisters to me as well. So I spent the summers with them, spent weekends with them. So spent a lot of time with them, and so I was rather well socialized. My parents also treated me like a tiny adult human, um, which which was nice. I mean, when I was 3, at Mother's Day, we went to the club in Birmingham, and I apparently went around shaking all the mothers' hands and wishing them a very happy Mother's Day. They called the staff, either the staff or my parents, or I don't really remember it because I was 3. But they started calling me the governor. Um, so so that was fun. And then I never really thought much of being an only child until I had friends that had, brothers and sisters, and they're like, "You're an only child, so you must be spoiled." And that shit ain't true for a minute. Yes, I had the undivided attention of my parents. yes, I didn't have to share when nobody else was around. But um, I as much as anyone else, I worked for what I had, for what I got. Um, I never was waited on hand and foot. Those are all myths of only children that you know people say, oh, they're spoiled. Oh, they don't do anything for themselves in life. Their parents provide for everything, and that's just not true. If anything, I would argue that most only children tend to be uh, tend to have most of the positive traits of the youngest, middle, and oldest children, with a few of their weaknesses too, because nobody's perfect except me. Um, but yeah, so there's that. I enjoyed. I didn't miss having not having siblings at all though. It was just it's who I am, and what made me me, for better or for worse.
How did that affect how you, when you got older though, like when we started dating
Hmm.
and like when we talked about kids and things like that, did that affect being an only child? Did that affect how you felt about becoming a parent?
So the biggest thing that impacted me when we got together, um, and we decided, hey, this is going to be serious. We're gonna be around each other for a while.
Hmm.
Um, the only thing that really kind of got me was now I was an uncle. Um, like
Oh,
even before we got married, I was an uncle, so I had all these young children looking at me and looking up to me and whatnot, and me being an instant role model, just add water. So that was fun. So I got to experience all the growing ups,
hmm.
and when we got married, I was excited to finally start a family of my own. I really I learned that I really enjoyed being around kids. They're really cool. They're really neat. They make no sense when they talk, but it's fine. You just act excited, and they're good with it. Um, and it's just there is no. I learned then that there is no replacement for like the love and adoration from a kid. So I definitely wanted one, or more of my own.
Like, so when we got married, we had a 5-year plan.
Hmm.
When my sister's oldest was born, that we wanted to have a kid within 5 years. And we were
Right.
married 3 years after he was born.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that we had a child for the next family portrait. Um, after our nephew was born.
That's
Um,
how it worked for all the kids, the first three births, because the first two are twins. There's 5 years between them, and we have family portraits done every 5 years.
yeah,
So it was kind of a running joke until my sister had another baby 2 years later. So
yeah, she messed it up for everybody. So so we wanted to have kids, starting probably a couple of years after we were married.
hmm
Uh, Mostly because we wanted, we wanted the time, wanted a couple of years to, explore life as a married couple, for for a while, and go on adventures, and because we had always been told, oh, once you have a kid, you're not going to be able to do any of that. Once you have a kid, you can't go out to a restaurant. Once you have a kid, you can't do crack. I mean,
And now you just take her to do everything except the crack.
except the crack.
That's after bedtime.
That's
right,
right.
right.
There's no
Um,
crack.
yes,
But anyways,
there is no
I feel
crack.
like you'll have to put a note when you edit with an asterisk. We do not actually do crack.
yes, maybe you
Anyway,
can put that in there
yeah, maybe.
in case they don't believe us and we're like, "There's no crack."
Yeah.
Anyways,
So, so yeah, so So after a couple of years, we are like, okay, we started casually trying. I guess I guess that's a thing, casually trying. But we were also enjoying our journey as a married couple. We did have the benefit of living together for a couple of years before we got married. Um, would recommend. Just saying. Um, but yeah, so it didn't get frustrating until probably about a year before, probably the year of us getting pregnant.
I have no idea
Um,
what your frustration level was like. Mine's very different.
um,
Hers was the first time it didn't happen.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was so around 2016. Um, yeah, about 2016. I was starting to kind of wonder something's not right. There's, we've had a few tests. Um,
Well,
we,
and real quick with that, we found out a few months after we got married that I had PCOS,
mhm.
um, polycystic ovarian syndrome. So, and sometimes that plays a really big factor in like when you actually are trying to get pregnant, and sometimes it doesn't. And it definitely played a huge factor in my ability. So we did know that back in 2012, and we'll talk about that eventually one day.
Yeah, that's another show.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, about 2016, we had moved to Midtown, and we were kind of trying to figure out what was going on. It was it was frustrating for me, um, but at the same time, I knew that we were not financially ready. We were never financially ready, but we really were not financially ready. Um, and there was a lot of instability in my job situation. Um, in a couple of years, I'd gone through 3 jobs, um, and finally landing at Coca-Cola, which has been awesome. Um, but yeah, so there was a lot of instability, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of stress situated around that. So um, even though I really, really wanted to have a child, looking back on it, it's
It
it's
worked
kind of
out.
yeah, it's kind of a blessing in disguise because we it would have made things so much harder.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then we got some medical help, and Melinda did a phenomenal job getting to the point where losing weight, uh, taking the medication to get her body right, um, and doing everything that she needed to do, and I did everything that I needed to do to get our family ready on a fundamental sense, rather than she was handling the biological sense, I was handling the fundamental the fundamentals of it, and so we had Aria exactly when we were meant to have her, and she is an absolute blessing in our life. Um, yes, it was frustrating, but it was also a relief when when Melinda did uh, get pregnant. When she told me that she was pregnant, it was quite an emotional evening. Um, and yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Then our apartment was a dick and wouldn't let us go into a 2 bedroom apartment. So fuck them. Um, and then so that's kind of where we are now.
And how does that make you feel?
Um, well, I
Because
think
you're not as old as your parents were. We're not as old as our parents. Well, no, we're not as old as our parents were. But like, I know the age of our parents was something that still kind of weighs on me. Like my mom's the youngest, but like that's something that weighs on me. And how does that? Because we did have to wait longer than we intended.
Yeah, it was not ideal. Because I didn't necessarily want to be a new dad in my mid-30s. Um,
But here we are.
but yeah, I mean, but here we are. You know, life has a different always has a different plan for you. Um, you're you know if my life had gone according to what I wanted, what I had planned out, I would be in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, studying the ancient Greeks and their trade routes with Egypt and whatnot. Because I'm a huge fucking nerd. If you haven't figured that out already. Um, However, life ended up saying, nope, you're going to go into IT. You're going to get gray hair prematurely because of IT. And you're going to meet and marry an absolutely phenomenal lady. And y'all are going to have the cutest fucking kid in the world. And maybe we'll give you another one soon or something.
TBD.
Who knows? Um, so the age at first bothered me, but at the same time, I was like, you know what? Whatever. It's not, 35, or I was 33 when she was born. 33 in 2018, and now 35 in 2020 is a lot different than 35 in 1985. A lot different. And
Sure.
and as I said, my mom was 38 when I was born. So um I really wanted to make sure, I really wanted us to have at least one kid um before Melinda turned 30, because that was one of her goals. Um and we made it. Goal accomplished. Um so I don't know. I think for me, age is not really as relevant, because in my wizened years, I've learned to just let things happen as they may go.
I think age is different for men anyway, though.
Yeah,
Like it doesn't impact, like, I mean, it does, like it impacts it just like everything else. But I think that, like, Melinda being in her mid-30s is different than you being in your mid-30s.
Absolutely. Not only is it an emotional difference, but it's also a physical difference as far as like reproduction and whatnot. You know, I can be 98 and still
Make babies.
Yeah, yeah. I ain't shooting blanks at 98, that's for sure. But but after a while, the um, from what I was taught in health class, um, we were after a while, a woman's ability to have a child diminishes, and then with menopause stops altogether.
Yeah.
I am not a doctor. Do not use me as a source in your middle school
Mike
paper.
is not a doctor.
At the bottom.
I am not a doctor, and I do not do crack.
But after conversations with my mother-in-law, though, like, age, unfortunately, was a factor in why Mike is an only child. By the time they were ready and thought they were in a good place, it was too late.
I did ruin their business, though.
He did. They had a beautiful little bakery until they had their own bun in the oven, and then they had to close it.
Yep.
Life ruiner.
I know. My dad had customers.
I never knew that.
Yeah, my dad
had
customers that would drive 3 hours or so just to get a sourdough loaf from him.
And yet he's never made one for us.
Right?
But I agree with you, Angel. I think age is very different for dads. Like, my dad was 40 when I was born. You know, like, I think your dad was around 40 when, aren't they? No, a little younger, still in his late 30s?
Late 30s.
Late 30s.
So
I was actually technically an accident. My biological mother kind of had me as a last attempt to kind of fix, you know.
Yeah,
And
my dad, I told my dad all the time, I was like, see, you didn't even want me, and I turned out to be the best one.
I mean,
he's like, it's not that I didn't want you. I was like, I'm just kidding.
Just kidding.
You know, and to be fair, you know, age for a guy has never really mattered as much, you know, in a cultural sense. I mean, back 100 years ago, if you were 17 and, you know, if you were a 17-year-old girl and you didn't have a baby, you know,
you were an old maid,
yeah,
spinster.
Old maid territory there. Not 100 years ago, but maybe like, you know, early 1800s or so.
Yeah.
But because
well, and the average now is in the 30s. A lot of women are having babies later because they want to have life and they want to focus on a career, or they want to, you know, it is happening later and later. And I mean, and Dawn was, you know, she's 40 when she had Marshall, so
I think in the 1920s, which was 100 years ago, not the 1800s, if you want to feel old. But in the 1920s, I think the average age of your first pregnancy was around 21 to 22.
See, and I can't even imagine us having.
Oh fuck no! There's
Hell
no.
Yeah.
Your 21st birthday was like, woo! No way would we have had like kids at home.
But also the life expectancy.
Well, and if you think about it too, that means that if we had by this point in our life, our kids would be 10, almost 10. Like that's
Now, to be fair, there are people we went to high school with that they got married young, and they have 10-year-olds. I mean,
they'll get to enjoy their younger, older self a lot longer than we will. But that's okay. I'm not interested.
But also, if you take into account too, the life expectancy in the 1920s was around 60 to 65. Now the average life expectancy is around 75 to 80, so it kind of tracks. Like
you have time.
Yeah, you have more time to enjoy your family. You have more time to enjoy your life. Now,
I mean, Aria's Gigi and her twin are 92.
Yeah. Now
which is crazy.
I do want to dispel a quick myth that I mentioned earlier when people said, once you have a baby, you can't do anything.
We probably do more now.
Yeah, like, trust, when a baby is little, they are portable as shit. You put them in the carrier and you carry them around. They don't complain. They don't give a shit. They're fine.
It's called the luggage phase?
Yes, the luggage phase. It's fantastic.
And now, so we sing barbershop, right? We go to all these conventions, and we have people that we're friends with all over the place. Except for right now, because everything's canceled. But,
right, because we don't want to kill anybody. With our breath.
With our breath. But Aria has all these friends. Aria has all these friends because there was a decent-sized group that had babies all in like the same, I don't know, 6 months apparently. And so when we go to these places, she has these friends that she doesn't get to see all the time, but she'll get to see at these special times during the year, and they'll get to grow up together, which is kind of unique. It's definitely not something that I had, because I didn't go away to camps or anything like that. I just had Angel and a few of the people that I went to school with.
Yeah.
Because Angel and I didn't go to school.
No.
She has all these friends, and all I had was Angel.
That is not what I said. That is not what I meant.
I was about to say that's what you said, but
But it's it's a really unique situation for her that she's going to have growing up, that was definitely not something that we had. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of neat because, and she does great in the car, which is not always typical of a 2-year-old. Um, so I
Yeah, I
don't
mean
know.
she's a fantastic traveler. I was I was pretty lucky growing up.
They traveled
My
a lot.
Yeah, we traveled a lot. My mom did a fair bit of traveling, and we would go to places for her, like her national convention or whatever, like Vancouver, Victoria. They went to Quebec. Um, I didn't get to go with them, but I did get to translate some stuff for them because I was in high school, and they were in Quebec and they didn't know French at all, and I was a uh, third year French student at that point. But we also like on Friday, I'd get home from school and or I'd get picked up from school and they're like, all right, we're going to Panama City. All right, we're going to Cedar Key or Keaton Beach. We're gonna go fishing for a weekend just to get away for a weekend. We did that a lot. In the summer, they kicked me out of the house to go play with my friends, or they would send me to
Camp.
church camp, which just it really helped me a lot to develop and realize who I am as an individual, and helped me um, find friends and learn how to make friends, and also realize that I'm really good at throwing a frisbee, but not really good at running when there's holes in the ground.
We got very different things out of church camp.
Yeah,
I didn't go.
I got a boyfriend one time. That's about it.
yeah,
I had
no
one.
boyfriends for me.
Oh,
Um,
to know that we went to see Grandma down in Florida like
mhm,
a couple times a year. That was it.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's something that from his being able to do that as an only child, and like they just had the ability to pick up and go because there was one.
Yeah, I think Aria is gonna have a really kind of a blended um, experience because I had the experience of small family, lots of travel, lots of adventures.
I have a huge family.
She has a huge family.
Angel
Didn't
has a huge
really
family.
always go everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
Could be because a huge family gets kind of expensive. So we got to do some really cool, some really special stuff that people with larger families may not have had the opportunity to do, simply because there are so many people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I had a backyard
I mean,
you still have a
and a
backyard.
really good imagination.
yes. Yes. Definitely good imagination. We had all kinds of adventures in the yards.
This would be a
Like
perfect segue to a sponsor. If anyone would sponsor us, continue.
Crickets and asterisks.
Well, do you have anything else that you would like to share as a dad? Any dad advice?
I think the biggest piece of advice um, that I can give dads, well, there are two pieces. One is super simple. For new dads and expecting fathers, skin to skin.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing. We don't have the ability to breastfeed and bond with our children that way, which that sounds really weird
Yeah, it
saying
made
that
me giggle. I didn't plan on laughing, but it kind
It's
of.
okay.
it sounds really weird, with the dad saying, "Oh, I can't breastfeed," but to be quite
I mean,
honest, um, we don't have the ability to have that bonding time. So be just do the skin to skin as much as possible for as long as possible.
they do
Um,
say like up to a year. There are huge, like chemical, emotional benefits of doing a
yeah,
skin to skin with your baby. Um, So some of my favorite pictures from the hospital is them doing. We had an extended stay, and
Yeah.
so
At the Econo Lodge.
but those are some of my favorite pictures.
Yeah, and
yeah,
it's,
I have some good ones of Rick doing skin to skin with Ollie too.
so and if you think it's bullshit, it's not. Like it's really not. Your child, people say, you shouldn't hold your baby too much. There is literally no possible way to hold your baby too much.
No.
Unless they're 15, and then
I mean, if they start to say no, then yeah, let them down. But yeah, I mean, I'm 30. I'm 35, and and my parents still love to just hug me and hold me in the hug because I'm their baby boy, and that's never gonna change.
yeah.
They can be 100 and whatever, and I can be 100 and whatever, and that still would not change.
Yeah.
So the other piece of advice that I would have, this is gonna get a little out there, but be the world that you want your child to be in. The world's on fire right now. I'm
kind
not,
of literally.
Both literally
Yeah,
and
no
figuratively.
shit.
And so I won't get into details on it, but when you look at what's going on today, when you look at what's going on tomorrow, when the next shitstorm hits, because it's not an if, it's definitely going to be a when, given 2020's
trajectory,
disaster
track record.
Don't look at it as how you were raised. Look at it as how you want your child to grow up. Look at it as, because any change that you affect in the world today is not going to benefit you at all. And that's fine. It needs to benefit your children. It needs to benefit your child. So whenever you look at this, whenever you look at what's going on, if you want to comment or make a statement or whatever, don't make a statement from you. Make a statement from what you want what the world that you want your child to live in. Because we're all doing this for tomorrow. We're not doing it for today. Our parents did it for today. So let's not have fire. So let's not have a fire a month in several years from now. Because really, all this stuff, it's not about us. It's about our kids. We really live. People say you live for your kids like it's a bad thing. You don't. It's not. It's not a bad thing. You live for your children because you want the absolute best for your child no matter what. And so when you look at things happening and look at things that are going to be happening, keep that in mind.
I think that's all right advice.
Yeah.
Well, on that very happy note, Angel, do you have any other questions for Mike? Mike is our editor, by the way.
Yes. So
if you don't know that already, you haven't watched enough of our videos, so go back and watch them.
You should subscribe to Momestly Me. We have videos every Tuesday and Saturday, unless our schedule changes, in which case it's going to be
something else.
And
we'll let you know. Oh, but did you have any other questions for Mike?
No, I know all the other answers, and I think he covered all the important stuff.
Cool. Well, on
That's
Mike's...
all I had written down anyway.
And also, it's okay to have an only child. It's okay to be an only child.
When we talked about doing this, I told Melinda that if he talks about being an only child, he's not allowed to change his mind about it being okay to be an only child because he's had to give me a pep talk about Oliver potentially being an only child. And I was like, so he's not allowed to tell me it's okay and then be like, don't have just one kid.
I did consider coming on and being like, it sucked, it was horrible.
That's
I didn't
just
have
not
anyone
true.
to do Lego with, which was not true because my dad was like, let's do it.
Why do you gotta clap so loud?
I didn't clap, I back it.
It wasn't loud to me.
Okay, good.
Right next to you.
It was like in my ear, and I'm like, whoa.
So yeah, so
So, on that note, make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, hit the bell icon so you get a notification on your phone or your email when we upload more awesome content like this. And follow us on social media at Momestly on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and yeah, I think that's it. Next Saturday, because this is Saturday that you're watching this.
yes, this is a Saturday that you're watching this on.
Mm-hmm. Next Saturday we have Rick, Angel's husband. So we'll see how that goes. And you're gonna have to tune in to see with us. And yeah, we'll see you next.
Rick is a fun person.
Yes. We are.
He's also very tall.
He's very tall. I think we're
only get to see his neck down.
As long as he keeps his shirt down, we're good. Not that kind of channel.
He does like the Flash.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, but yeah. We're pretty fortunate to have some awesome people in our life. We don't tell them that very often because, but anyways.
Yeah.
Check us out next week. We'll see you next time, Moms.